Sailors break it down on a camel's back. They just have to go 'cause they don't know where. So all you favorite streets is appealing to see. You won't get under county 'cause you're never free. You got a new horizon, it's ephemeral style. Melancholy town where we never smile. Not all I wanna hear is the message beep. My dreams they gotta kissing 'cause I don't get sleep, no. Windmill for the land, the forever hand in hand. Take it all out on your stride. It is kicking, rolling down. Love forever, love is free. Let's turn forever, you and me. Windmill for the land. It's everybody in.
Laughing gas, these hazmats, fast cats, lining them up like ass crack. Play these ponies at the track, it's my chocolate attack. Shit, I'm stepping in harder this year. Yeah, bear repping in harder this year. Watch me as I gravitate. Ha 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 ha. Yo, we gon' ghost town, this Motown with your sound. You in the blink, gon' bite the dust, can't fight with us. With your sound, you kill the ink. So don't stop, get it, until you chat it, hit it. Watch the way I navigate. Ha 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 ha.
Hey, it's Soleil, and this is episode 293 of the Homeless Orange Pill Investor. MicroStrategy below 400. So let me know if you got a spare room in case I get evicted. All jokes aside, I probably won't have too much to do. I don't really have a whole lot of dry powder in this account. I'm using margin here. I had like 100 and something in margin, and I felt really good when I knocked it down to like 30. But every dip is kind of a buying opportunity, in my opinion. But when you're pretty much, out of dry powder, there's not a whole lot of extra positions to add. And I already, I closed a bunch of my short covered calls. And even those were for losses, they were for smaller losses when I closed them around 425, I think, than when they were at like 500. So in a sense, that's a little bit of a win. But at the same time, I guess I can kind of look at buying to close those positions is kind of like a buying opportunity. Options are weird like that. Everything is opposites. So if you sell to, if you sell to open, you got to buy it to close. So with this dip, I could go in the market and I could buy long calls to open, or I can buy to close short calls that I had opened previously. But let's just go ahead and take a look and see what we got. The first thing that I probably need to address is I took a flyer on like a lottery position, and I think I overestimated how quickly the market might react to QQQ. So I had the dates a little bit mixed up. It looks like we're going to get the pricing on Friday. So they will take the snapshot of where companies would land in the QQQ if they are admitted. But I don't know if that news is going to be enough to really send MicroStrategy up. I mean, I don't know anything about the price in the short term. I'm confident in the future, and of course, not financial advice, but I feel like I'm more confident about MicroStrategy's price in 1 year than I am 12 hours or 12 days. 12 weeks is starting to get closer. But so anyway, the point is these lottery, scratch offs that I paid not a whole lot for, 200 bucks for this one, and did pay quite a bit more for this one that's 11 days out. Of course, the price has now collapsed big time. So I may try to add into these positions, basically like dollar cost averaging into this. This one for this Friday was all just, you know, a big time speculative thing anyway. This doesn't make any sense. It's nothing more than gambling. However, spending 200 bucks to potentially nearly 50x that position is not the worst, not the worst thing. It's like an hour at the blackjack tables. So, but yeah, that's just all kind of funsies. There's no real rhyme or reason about that other than the fact that MicroStrategy is just that volatile that anything could happen. With 100% vol, I mean, the price can go up or down basically MicroStrategy's entire value. So day to day, this is going to be crazy. Now, IV rank has dropped down to 70, which is crazy because if it was going up to 70, I would say that this was an opportunity to sell options, and the options prices are still very good, but they're not nearly as good as they were when IV rank was like 100. So that was like prime time options selling. But I was still a little bit scared. I only sold like one when the price went up to one, was like 450 or 470. I think I only sold one additional covered call. So I did profit a little bit on that one. But the other, like, as the price had been going up from 3 to 350 to 4 to 450, every single one of those covered calls that I sold along the way were all losers. So like seven out of the last 8 covered calls that I put on were all losers. So maybe you should just find somebody else to follow because apparently I'm not very good at this. However, most of my long positions are still actually doing pretty well. So even though my account has evaporated like 25% in the last week, I'm still up, whatever. Probably 5x or something from the beginning of the year. And that's the weird thing about MicroStrategy is you can be down 20% and it seems like the world is coming to an end. But then if you zoom out, right? If you zoom out and look at the whole year's worth of the chart, then if you've been holding since here, like, you can't complain. But this is a good time. I mean, I talked about it a little bit on True North last night, but everybody says not financial advice, NFA, 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 and it's really just a CYA thing. Like, somebody sues you or whatever, you want to just be able to say, well, I told them, to do your own research or whatever. But really, it's more than that. Like, if you look at all the videos that I was making between March and April, like, at no point did I ever say, hey, I think $200 a share is the top. If you can find somebody that knows how to call the top, they're probably not making videos. They're probably keeping that information to themselves anyway. But I don't really think anybody knows. So, sometimes, even though I think I know where MicroStrategy is going over the next 12 months, up, there's no telling how fast it will go up, and there's no telling how violent these downswings are going to be after we hit resistance. And there's a lot of catalysts. Some people are saying, oh, the bear market's not going to happen because Saylor can just keep borrowing money and buy so much freaking Bitcoin that he can just manipulate the price or whatever single-handedly. And I don't know. I'm still kind of not buying that. Just because if there's some serious FOMO, like the conservative kind of bear estimates were saying, all right, maybe Bitcoin goes to 150 or 225 or something like that. And then the bulls are like, no, 500,000. And the, GigaChad bulls are like, okay, it's going to 1 million. And if it does go to 1 million, then MSTR's 42 billion plan isn't going to be able to buy enough Bitcoin to keep the price elevated, especially when people are FOMOing in at the top. Like if there's people FOMOing into Bitcoin at 999,999 because they think it's going to 2 million or 10 million or whatever, there's going to be people FOMOing into that, and their stop losses are going to kick in when it drops 10%, or they're just going to panic sell when people realize that we've hit the top for that cycle or just that period of time. And when all of the leveraged longs get flushed out of that Bitcoin trade, a lot of the leveraged longs are going to get flushed out of the MicroStrategy trade. So anybody that was YOLOing into long calls, and this is pre-split, I'm going to say $2,000 a share. Like you could ape into these weekly long calls, you made a bunch of money. Oh, okay, you lost money this week, made a bunch of money. But if you're still just in, weekly long calls, monthly long calls, even 3-month long calls, every single one of those long calls purchased here were losers for 7 months straight. 6 months. Yeah, really 7 months. Yeah, you didn't get back into profit until 7 months later. And you still had to, if you paid $1,000 for that option, now you got to get to 200 a share plus, break even is plus that $1,000. So you probably had to get to 210 a share. So yeah, you probably, if you bought long calls at the top here, as long as you had a year-long expiration date, you were fine. But if you had 1 week, 2 weeks, a month, 3 months, 6 months, those were all losers. So even on the stock that I am the single most bullish that I've ever been on any stock in my entire life, and before I feel like I started to at least begin to understand MicroStrategy, the only thing I was that bullish on was Tesla, because they passed Michael Saylor's investment test himself. He said you invest in an asset when it's disrupting, number one, and number two, when it's the clear winner. And I think Tesla checks both of those boxes, and naturally, I think that MicroStrategy checks both of those boxes. But even on the best stock, I think it will be remembered as the best stock in the history of the market. There's still plenty of opportunities to lose money long if your time horizon is too short to be right. You have to give yourself enough time to be right. And clearly, in this circumstance, 6 months was not enough time. It took 7, 8, 9 months to be right. Even if you're YOLOing at the top, even if you're leveraged long at the top, holding for a long enough time period was still profitable if you didn't have these fucking degenerate short-term plays. And I have a few of them, but I'm not expecting them to win. I'm expecting this short-term gambling stuff to lose most of the time. So while it's not financial advice, it's still good mental advice where your expectations should align with reality, I think. So let me just check the chat real quick before I try to buy the dip with what little dry powder I have left. Basically, I'm just hodling, like literally holding on for dear life at this point. I think I could probably sustain a drop in the price to like 300, but below 300, I would be quaking in my boots. So if the market gods are out there listening, could we please not do that? Adavara says, do you think Saylor will tap the ATM this week? This is rumor mill, but I think someone said that they heard Saylor say that he would try to at least be a little bit responsible. If the market's down, he probably would take his foot off the gas. Now, I know some people say, look, he's just a- at the ATM every day, and the trading algorithms that they have in place, you can't even tell that he's there. I know some people can tell that he's been out there buying Bitcoin because maybe nobody else is out there really buying at his size or whatnot. But if if logic dictates that he wants as high of a position in the QQQ, then he would do his best not to tank the MSTR price, and he would just be out there buying Bitcoin like a madman so that he can announce another purchase. Um, and maybe some of this pullback too is, I think it was Ben that said this, where you would think, okay, when he announces a Bitcoin purchase, that should lower the MNAV, right? And then people should go, oh, well, this is undervalued now, and then they should go back out and buy. But if people are already front running him and knowing that he's out there buying, then the announcement really isn't telling anybody anything that they didn't already know. And at that point, maybe that Bitcoin purchase is all priced in, unless he just surprises and says, oh, yeah, everybody was thinking 50,000 Bitcoin and he bought 100. Like, that might surprise the market potentially. But if the announcement is just what everybody was expecting, then, maybe that's a signal for some of the MicroStrategy tourist investors to take profits or something. I don't know if that's what's causing the pullback, but I think that's the way that Ben explained it, and it sounds logical at least. So Adam says, how's it going? Well, I'm down bad if we go back 2 weeks, but I'm up good if we go back 6 months. What's up, BB? Rico says, thanks for this. I closed all of mine this morning, sitting on my hands and waiting for vol and spike up in the next few days, weeks. Yeah, we're in the same boat. I'm waiting for the next move. And if we get back up to 450, I may just, add one. 500, 550 would be interesting. But I'm looking for some kind of, I want to see a nice big green candle like that before I really go hard. I wish I would have went a little harder at 470. I only sold one just because I'm so gun shy now. Back here, these are pre-split numbers, but I had like 1,400 strikes when it went to 1,700, and it cost me a lot of money. So I have been very hesitant selling covered calls into this bull market. And I think with good reason, because, like I said, 7 out of my last 8 or so covered calls have all been losers. So I would have won if all the ones that I put on at 450 would have been winners. But over the last 2 months, I had loss after loss after loss. Definitely underperforming the buying hold. 500 says, I think we're headed for 330. Well, that's definitely possible. I mean, a lot of times, I'm not a big TA guy, but a lot of times former resistance can become the new support. So that would put us basically right exactly where we're at now. But once you break support, break through support, now you're looking for the next lower level of support. Well, we had support at 320, so you would be right on target right there. And if we break through that one, then we're looking at 270. Oh, God. Yeah, 270 would be a fucking nightmare. But it's not unheard of, right? We went to 2,000 a share, and then it dropped to 100, or excuse me, 2,000 to 1,000. So if we pumped to 550, dropping in half to 370, 275 is not out of the question, right? That would be the type of move that's not completely unheard of, right? It's basically the same percentages that we had back in March. So crossing my fingers, hoping it doesn't happen, but yeah, anything's possible on the short term. What's up, Junkrat? You see, your January 1080s might not be enough time. Yeah, January 1080s. If I had to look into my crystal ball, like even if we don't get to 1080 on January, I think sometime in the next 2 months, there will probably be some kind of green candle. Like in the middle of December, if there's a green candle to 750, 800, 900, something like that, the option price will, and the implied vol will probably be so high that you might get lucky with an exit position in profit, even if it never gets to 1080 in January. So all is not lost. All right, Kanal says, actually, I have a coworker named Kanal. Well, I quit my job, so I won't have any coworkers for much longer. I guess all of y'all will be my coworkers. Nithu, doesn't that example you're pointing at also have to take into account what the macro environment is doing? That sideways chop was also because of Bitcoin consolidating and doing its thing around the halving. Yeah, exactly. And so I guess that's kind of what I'm saying. Like, I have no idea personally what the macro environment is going to do to something. If Bitcoin decided it didn't want to consolidate through the whole summer, if Bitcoin went to 100 here, then MicroStrategy probably would have been at 3,000 or 4,000. It probably would have been to 10,000. But anyway, you're absolutely right. Mine Bitcoin, the QQQ news will be huge if included, right? It should be, unless everybody's figured it out already. So when they take the snapshot on Friday, we're going to know where MicroStrategy would be included if it is included, and then it has to tick off all the boxes. And I might be mixing up QQQ versus SPY, but Jeff did a really good video in his Solo Quant Bros the other day where he ticked off every single metric that the QQQ needs. And I think the only one that was up in the air might have been voting rights, like what percentage of the shares Michael Saylor has might factor into it at some point. But I mean, I can't imagine that the QQQ doesn't want MicroStrategy. Like, and then it seems like they would want a company that's performing this well in. So unless for some reason they just maybe for some kind of political infighting or something, they just decided they didn't want the company in, I guess they could come up with some excuse to curate them out. But somebody out there is probably has some kind of odds about whether they get in or get out. And even if I'm 100% sure they're getting in, it doesn't mean that the market is, or whatnot. Emperor says, I've got some January 990s, so we will see. Yeah, fingers crossed. I'm rooting for you. Ben, what's up, brother? Let's see. Make sure you submit your X time sheets in a timely manner. We're pretty intense about making sure you put a time in on here. Yeah. Yeah, you better put a spy on me, because I've been known to slack. Jared, would we know on Friday if we're included? No, we won't know if we're included. We will only know, as far as I'm aware, the way that I've listened to people talking about it is we will only know where MicroStrategy would be included if they end up getting included. And I think we find out for sure on the 13th. So my little lottery tickets that I I fucked that up. I put these expiration dates as December 6th, which was the snapshot date. I'm sorry, the November 29th, which is the snapshot date. And then I was like, let me give myself an extra week when I did this one. But we won't even have the official QQQ inclusion, I think, until the 13th. So I was a little premature with this one, kind of bumfuggled that one. Jared says, isn't it ranking on Friday? Then on 12/20 we know, and then in 2025 we're in. Yeah, I don't know. Somebody will have to fact check that. Oh, okay. Ben actually is answering the question. Snapshot 11/29, announcement 12/13, reconstitution 12/20. Thank you, sir. Remind me to submit you, Ben, for a bonus. Yeah, Emperor says, can you clarify the voting rights? That was for SPY. Yeah, I wish I could clarify, and I really shouldn't have just opened my mouth, but sometimes I'm just out here talking. So I can't remember if that voting rights requirement, I think Jeff, his video, he was talking about the QQQ, but I'll have to watch it again and find out. All right. Brom, what's up? Dale, $2 trillion market, $5 to $10 billion buys won't force direction to change. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Emperor says Ben is answering questions for you in the chat. Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm gonna owe him lunch or something. Ben says bad internet where I'm at, couldn't handle the live stream. Yeah. Yeah, we missed you. Kanal, Nitha, do you ever play around with cash secured puts? If so, when do you deploy that strat? Like now. I haven't really been running the wheel in MicroStrategy. And I find that the returns are very similar. But for years, that was my whole game, was just selling cash secured puts, getting assigned, selling covered calls, getting called away. And why is that saying my price has got to be? Oh, what in the hell? I still have November 22nd and my options changed somehow. I guess I need to sign out and sign back in. That freaked me out for a second. I thought there was no premium for this Friday. Yeah, so the way that I look at this is if I wanted to get 1% returns on a $367 stock, you just move the decimal place over 2. So I would need to collect at least $3.67 to collect 1% by this Friday, and it's it's 5 times that. It's at least 4. Yeah, it's close to 4 or 5%, and we only have 3 more trading days. So this is filthy. So if I was still running the wheel, I would absolutely be selling cash secured puts into this. But after I saw Quant Bros 1, you know, I kind of just felt a disturbance in the force, right? And so my option selling days started slowly disintegrate. And when I took that bad beat in March, when I was selling the 1400s, collecting massive premiums, and then the price went to 1700 and I got absolutely wrecked. When that happened, I stopped doing as much of this. But if you're a pure option seller, there is no better play than selling cash secured puts and selling covered calls. Now, I think that strategy will underperform, you know, even just holding shares. But I think it will underperform buy and hodl over the next year. But, and I'm going to do a whole video about it. I kind of hinted at it before when I was like, my covered calls are underperforming. Why am I still doing this? And I think it's just because I'm a gambling addict. And maybe I'm doing the video right now, but you can turn anything into a game if you take something easy and make it hard. And the easy way to invest in MSTR over the next year would just be to buy it and just do nothing. what did Jeff call it? The dead man's portfolio. Um, that's probably the easiest and potentially even most profitable way to make money. But I kind of just can't help myself. Like, I love tempting fate and trying to sneak in and, oh, can I catch the top and sell a covered call and skim that extra little profit off? And apparently 7 out of 8 times I am unsuccessful. But that one time I sold the covered call at 470 for 4 grand, I think, and then I bought it back for 2,800. I get to pat myself on the back and tell myself what a great option seller I am. So it's just kind of fun and it's been profitable. So I'm not saying it's a losing strategy, but I am trying to maximize my profits over the next year to an extent that I basically want my portfolio to be sold so big that even I can just hodl through a 50% drawdown and I won't give a shit. That's kind of what I'm trying to do over the next year. So I'm taking some margin risk that is not wise. I am taking a bunch of leveraged positions that are not necessarily wise. However, with my conviction level, I'm comfortable doing it. So everybody has to trade their own account and trade within their, emotional ability to handle these kind of drawdowns. And, it's an individual sport. So we're kind of all in it together in spirit, but it's definitely an individual sport when it's everyone's individual portfolio on the line. I'll try to catch up on the chat after I do that. I really do actually have to place these fucking trades. So in the main account, I had bought 2 of these and I paid like $100 each. And now these damn things are going to be, I thought there was a similar position and I could just do this again. No. I thought they had a little quick way for me to do that with one click. But actually, maybe I won't do that. Maybe I'll give myself a little bit more time to be right, because I think if Ben said we know the inclusion will be December 20th, maybe I'll just go out here to January. And no, because I already have, well, good Lord, I already have some of these. Yeah, I got the 660, 760s. And I've already got the 8 to the 900s. Are those in profit? These guys. Probably not. These got to be getting wrecked, right? Let me see. If I close these, I paid like 800 for these, right? And now they only cost 400. So maybe I'll just pick up 2 more of these. That'll work. So I'll buy the 800s and I will sell the 900s. And that'll cost me about $375 a pop. Maximum profit will be the distance between the strikes. So that's 100 times 100. So max profit is 10,000, but I'm paying $400. So max profit is really like 96.25. I don't want to overpay if I don't have to. So let's try to get 2 of them for 360. Basically dollar cost averaging into these losing positions. That should cut my average cost down to like $6 per contract. All right. Let's see if they're going to let me get a fill under $4. Oh wow, the price is running away from me too, down to 367. Maybe I'm crashing the market. How's that commercial go? It's only weird if it works. So maybe that's what I'll do. I'll just I'll start my live, and if the price of MSTR keeps going up, then I'll just talk until it goes down. And if it's going down, I'll just immediately end the live. Maybe that'll be a good good trading strategy. All right, so I added 2 of these and dropped my trade prices down a little bit. Anything else I want to add? Oh, you know what? That's the other thing I thought about doing. So I'm in a little bit of a pickle here with my concentration risk. So I thought about selling like 100 shares and just buying Misty. And then every time they pay me a dividend, you know, that will chip away at my margin use as well. But let's see, Misty is $32 a share. So that's about 3 grand for lots of 100. And I can't imagine that I would actually sell covered calls against a stock whose whole deal is selling covered calls to generate yield. That would be kind of weird. That's like covered calls on top of covered calls. But then again, I don't know. Maybe it makes sense. What would that even do? So at $40 a share for 52 days, see, 1% would be 32. So that's like 7% returns in 52 days. I mean, it's not terrible, but that's not even the point. The point would be tricking the tastytrade algorithm into thinking that I don't have MicroStrategy concentration risk because I would have investing in 2 symbols instead of 1. I don't think it would work with MSTU or MSTX because leveraged ETFs, I don't think the algorithm gives them as much credit because they're too volatile. So that would actually probably be even worse for my concentration risk. But I'm interested to see what would happen to my buying power if I sold off 100 shares and then I bought like 1,000 shares of MSTY. We're just here having fun, right? So let's sell 100 shares. All right. And then let's buy. Oh, shit. Did I accidentally buy 100 shares? No, okay. I sold them. Oh, thank God. All right. Let's buy 1,000 shares. And I don't even know what the ex-dividend date is. I don't know if I'm going to be able to collect a dividend or if I just missed it. Yeah, I'm right about back to where I started with the margin use, and my buying power really didn't change much. So I don't know if I need to take a bigger position, but whatever you guys do, don't tell Ryan that I bought Misty because I clowned on him during True North a couple weeks ago. So this will, you know, let's make this our little secret. Okay, bunch of chat. You know what? I might just assume that Ben handled all of that shit. Just look at my IRA. I don't think there's anything I need to do here. Cash account. I can just wait for something amazing to happen, I guess. The joint account. have a very, very, very small margin position, so that is totally fine. So yeah, I think I'm just in a holding pattern here. I'm just waiting for liftoff before I try to dip my toe back into the covered call selling again. And then my allowance, I got $747. What's like the cheapest MicroStrategy call even cost? Like if I go out to January, cheapest one I can get is $1,600, so I can't even afford that. Like how early do I gotta go? So what? Ben mentioned December 20th. So what's the cheapest one I can get December 20th? Oh, I can afford that. Let's look at December 27th. Okay, why not? I'll buy one December 27th. That would be like a week after the inclusion. And so if something amazing happens with the price between now and then, that would be cool. And now I have almost no money left in that account to spend. All right, let's take a look at the 5K account. I was so proud of myself because it was over 30. Now it's got to be 28, 27, something like that. Yeah, oh God, 26. Guess I was being a little optimistic. Same thing here. I don't think I'm using margin. Yeah, so maybe I will take one extra position here. I think this thing is still in profit. Yeah. So what can I add on this MicroStrategy dip? Or should I just sell another CLSK put? You know what? Let's go out here and get another debit spread. Let's go to January again. I already have one there. But let me get one similar to the other account. Oh, go the wrong way. So I have the 600, 700, and I don't want to overlap. Like I sold the 700. If I buy the, that would be interesting. If I buy the 7 and sell the 8, I would actually just be canceling this one out. And that would change my existing debit spread from 100 point wide to 200. That's kind of cool. I don't think I'm doing that though. So let me do I want 800 to 900 or do I want 750 to 850? Let me see. Let me look and see what an 8 to 9 would look like. So if I buy the 8 and sell the 9, that's only going to cost $400 and potentially max profit will be 9,500. But again, this is just all hopium here. This is not necessarily a wise decision, but on the dip, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a shot. All right, cool. Now let me go back and refresh my position and see if I'm using margin now. Still not using margin, so I must have a little bit of dry powder left in this account, but it can't be much. I guess maybe it's this amount here. So we'll see. I'll add another position if MSTR drops down to like 330 or something, maybe. Oops, not Tesla. Yeah, I'll save that little bit of dry powder if MSTR goes to 330 or something terrifying like that. Oh, Rico says I just missed the dividend. Fuck me. All right. I put in my 2 weeks notice, but I do have to actually, earn my paycheck until then. So, thanks Ben for helping out in the chat, and be good, y'all.